Hello, it's Eleana here from Lavinia Stamps design team. Thank you for joining me today, and I'd like to share with you how I made this card, Dancing Till Dawn. For the background, I used Elements inks, and my base colour was Sundance, a real happy yellow. Then I used russet orange and a bit of graphite just to go around the edge of the card. For the ground, I used some olive. For the trees, I used Versifine Claire pine cone in second generation. Dancing Till Dawn fairies were stamped in Nocturne, and then I used the bluebell just to stamp the bluebells and then to blend around the edge of the card, framing it. Posca pens, I used ivy, yellow and light blue just to create some little dots around where the fairies were dancing to act like some little flowers. For the sparkle, I'm going to use some of this lovely eco glitter vintage shimmer, and it just goes well with the colour scheme I've got going on. For the stamps, I'm going to be using birch tree, elm tree, Dancing Till Dawn, bluebell, meadow grass. I'm also going to be using the single fairy thistle, but I'm only going to be using the top half for the card. 3 blessings, hope, happiness and faith. And then I'm going to be using this little foliage from the tree of courage just to stamp the trees and add some sparkle. So, let's get started. I'm going to be using my blending mat, and I'm going to be using Elements ink pads, Sundance. So I'm just going to put a little bit onto my blending mat, spritzing it with some water, and then using my card to pick it all up. And now I'm going to give it a dry with the heat gun. And now I'm going to be using this gorgeous orange, rosette orange. So again, I'm just going to tap it onto my blending mat, spritzing it with some water, and I'm just going to go around the edge. And now I'm going to give it a dry with the heat gun. And as you can see, there's still some ink on my blending mat. So I'm going to use my card to pick all of that up. Just turning my card around and just randomly picking it up. and then again giving it a dry with the heat gun. Before I do my last lot of inking, I'm now going to do a bit of faux bleaching. So for this you just need some water. I'm going to use my hand, so I'm going to spritz some into my hand and then I'm just going to flick it onto my card. But you can use some water and a fan brush and then just using your hand and the brush just to flick it onto your card. This will give you finer, lighter dots. Just going to give it a few seconds just to interact with the ink. Using a cloth, I'm now going to dab off all these little water droplets. And you'll be able to see where the water has interacted with the ink. And this is just creating some interest again to your background. I'm now going to use my last colour of ink. So I'm going to go and use graphite. So I'm going to put this on my blending mat. Spritzing it with some water. And then I'm going to go around the very edge of the card. And again, giving it a dry with the heat gun. And then I'm going to go back with the rest of the ink and just pick that up. Just randomly around my card. And now I'm going to give it one more go with the heat gun. The birch tree is going to go into the middle, and then I'm going to stamp the elm tree on either side. Using the carrier sheet for the Dancing Till Dawn fairies, I'm just going to position them a bit lower than the ground line to the birch tree and seeing if I have enough room to stamp with. Once that I'm happy, I'm now going to be using a hill mask just to do my ground line. And once I'm happy with the place, take my tree away and then I'm going to place it down. Now that I have my mask in place, I'm going to be using some Elements Olive. So using my blending brush, I'm going to put some onto my glass mat, using my blending brush to pick up the ink, and now I'm just going to blend it, but I do not want to come to the very edge. I'm just going to concentrate in this sort of section, and then I'm going to sweep it coming down. And as you can see, I haven't come right to the edge of the card. I'm now going to use a different mask to create some more hills into the background. So I'm just going to position that into place. I'm going to use the same blending brush, but no more ink, because there'll still be ink on my brush, and just doing these hills. And then I'm going to do some on the other side. And again, not picking up any ink, just using what's on my brush. And there we have our landscape. Now that I have my birch tree in place, I'm going to stamp it in VersaFine Clair pine cone, but I'm going to stamp it in second generation because I don't want it too dark. So I'm going to pick it up, ink it up, then using a piece of copier paper, and now I'm going to stamp on it and then stamp onto my card. And it's still a bit too light, so I'm just going to do it once more. So stamp it after I've inked it, and then giving this a good press down. And now I'm happy with my tree. So now I'm going to do the same for the elm tree. Now I'm going to stamp the Dancing to Dawn fairies. So I'm just going to position those into place, and then I'm going to stamp them in VersaFine Clair Nocturne. For the meadow grass, I stamped it in olive, and then with some ripped copier paper I just positioned this while I stamped so that the grass didn't come down right to the bottom. Now I'm going to be using the bluebell. So I have it on a small stamping block because I'm only going to stamp the top half of the stamp, and I'm going to be using VersaFine Clair Bluebell. So just inking the top half up and then just stamping it in the grass. And then just building this all the way along. And then I'm going to do some along this ground line, but I'm going to do it in second gen. So I'm going to stamp onto the copier paper and then just do the very, very top of the bluebell. I'm now going to use the single fairy thistle, but I'm only just going to use this top of the fairy thistle. So I'm going to use my finger to stamp with, and I'm going to be using the Elements Olive again, and just with my fingertip ink it up and then just stamp it randomly. And this just giving some interest to the ground. Now I'm going to work on the trees, and I'm using this little foliage from the Tree of Courage, and I'm going to be using my old VersaFine Clair Nocturne. I'm just going to grab a piece of copier paper. I'm just going to ink this up and just stamp, and I'm going to do it in second generation of ink, and I'm just going to stamp this randomly over the 3 trees. So now we're going to do the moon. So using the small circle from the Circle Mask collection, I'm going to position this into place, and then I'm going to use my blending brush and a bit of the Elements graphite. So I'm just going to place this on my glass mat using my blending brush, picking the ink up, and now I'm going to blend around this mask. And there we have our moon or sun. I'm now going to be using some of this beautiful russet orange. So I'm just going to dab a little bit onto my glass mat, using some water, spritzing it on to the ink, and then with my paintbrush I'm just going to pick up this colour and add some colour to the fairy wings. And then I'm going to use my lid and then just mix it to make the colour a little bit darker. Just using a black watercolour pencil, I'm just going to ground these 3 fairies. So I'm just going to gently draw a line underneath and then a bit from the trees. Now I'm going to be using some Posca pens. So using the ivy first, I'm just going to create some little dots on the ground where the fairies are dancing. And now I'm going to do some along through the meadow grass and the bluebells. And then I'm going to do the same with the yellow, just doing random dots on that ground where they are dancing, and then doing some along the meadow grass and the bluebells. And then using the light blue, doing the same thing again. Using the Stardust glitter pen, I'm now just going to do some gentle dots on the fairy wings. So now I'm going to be using the 3 blessings: hope, happiness and faith. And I'm going to be using russet orange, olive and the bluebell, the colours that we've already used on the card. So I've already got happiness onto my acrylic block. I'm going to use the russet orange first, so I'm just going to ink that up, and then I'm going to stamp this randomly over the card. Now I'm going to use olive for the word hope. And again, just stamping this randomly. Now I'm going to stamp the word faith in bluebell, but I'm going to do it in 2nd generation of ink. So I'm going to stamp it off and then just stamp this randomly over a card. So now I'm going to use the Bluebell VersaFine Clair just to blend around the edge, and I'm going to use a smoothie for this. So just blending this around the very edge of the card. So now I have matte and layered it under some white and black card using my layer guide at 1/8 of an inch all the way around for the white and black card. I'm now going to get my 8x8 card blank, and this is now going to be glued onto here before I finish off the work on my card. So again, with the glue, just going around the edge and a bit in the middle, and then just placing it onto my card blank. Now it's time to add some glitter to the card. So I'm going to be using some of this beautiful eco glitter vintage shimmer, and if I just scoop some out onto my card, onto this white card, you'll see how lovely this glitter is, and all the different types of glitter. There's some really fine glitter and some chunky glitter. So with my quick glue pen, I'm just now going to work on the foliage that we stamped onto the trees. So I'm just going to do some dots coming down, just following this foliage. And then I'm going to do some glue dots just around here, just to add a little bit more of a sparkle. And now I'm just going to sprinkle some of this lovely glitter all over. And then just gently brush off any loose glitter. Now we have the finished card. Thank you for joining me today. Please take care, and I hopefully see you soon. Bye for now. Bye!